Good day, learners. How are you today? I am Teacher Lisa, your Music 6 teacher. So sit back and join me as you learn about the Western Orchestra instruments. For our learning competencies, we have described the instrumental sections of the Western Orchestra, MU6 TB-IID-1. Distinguish various in symbols seen and heard in the community, MU6 TB-IID-E-2. For our objectives, at the end of the lesson, you should be able to 1. Identify visually and orally the instrumental sections of the Western Orchestra instruments. Number 2. Identify the characteristics of each instrument of Western Orchestra. Number 3. Distinguish orally the sound of each section of different Western Orchestra. Number 4. Describe the characteristics and distinct sound of quality of the different instruments orchestra. Class, do you still remember our previous lesson? Try to recall and answer the following questions. I will give you 5 seconds to answer each question. If you heard this sound, it means your time is up. Class, are you ready? Direction. Choose the letter of the correct answer. Number 1. Which of the following is a sign for coda? If your answer is letter C, you are correct. Number 2. What is the meaning of DC marking? If your answer is letter B, you are correct. Number 3. Blank is the meaning of dulcenio. If your answer is letter A, very good. Number 4. This is the symbol for dulcenio. If your answer is letter C, you are correct. Number 5. What is the meaning of the word fine? If your answer is letter B, you are correct. I hope you can get all the correct answers. Before moving on, let us identify the name of the following instruments. I will give you 5 seconds to answer each picture. Number 1. What is this? Very good. This is a saxophone. How about this one? Excellent. This is a cymbals. How about these instruments? Very good. This is a flute. How about this one? All right. This is a trumpet. How about this one? What is this instrument? Excellent. This is a harp. Class, look at these pictures. What comes to your mind when you see these pictures? Yes, they are the instruments used in orchestra. What is an orchestra? An orchestra is a large group of musicians who play together on varied instruments and are led by a conductor. It contains sections of string, brass, woodwind, and percussion instruments. Here is the example. For additional information, the modern Western orchestra first developed in Europe over a period of several centuries. But in modern times, it has become widely adopted all over the world. Various types of bands, smaller in symbols, composed mainly of orchestral instruments are also very popular. So many people are familiar with the orchestra section method of classifying musical instruments. Here are the sections of the orchestra and the instruments commonly found in them. The typical sections of the orchestra is divided into four groups or families of instruments. Number 1, the string. Number 2, the woodwind. Number 3, the brass. And number 4, the percussion. Let us study one by one the different sections of the Western orchestra. The first one is the string instruments. String instruments are instruments usually played by strumming, plucking, or bowing. They are often referred as the strength of character of the orchestra. String instruments include violin, viola, cello, double bass, and harp. Violin. It is the smallest but with the highest pitch string instrument with 4 strings. It is played by moving the bow across the strings and may also be plucked its strings by the fingers. The violin is also known as the heart of orchestra. A person who plays the violin is called a violinist. Viola. It is slightly larger than violin and has thicker strings. It produces a warmer and richer sound than violin. Cello. The cello is bigger than a viola but is smaller than double-bassed. Its strings are tuned in perfect fifth. The cello is played by bowing or by plucking the strings. It is held in between the knees while seated. Double bass. It is the biggest and has lowest pitch in a string family. Its strings may be plucked or bowed while the player is standing because of its large body. Harp. It is made of 47 strings. It has a wide range of pitches and can produce both very low and very high sounds. Its keys are tuned to the white keys of the piano. Class, do you want to hear the sounds of the string instruments? Here are the sounds.
String family, violin. Viola. Cello. Bass. Harp.
The next section is the woodwind instruments. These instruments are played by blowing air through the reed of the mouthpiece. Tunes are produced by covering the finger holes. Some of the woodwind instruments include piccolo, flute, oboe, clarinet, bassoon, and saxophone. Piccolo. It is the smallest woodwind instrument and produces pitches that are an octave higher than the flute. Flute. It can produce high-pitched sounds in a rapid succession. It can be made of metal, plastic, or wood. It is also known as edge-blown wind instrument. Oboe. It is considered as the most expressive woodwind instrument and has two reeds in the mouthpiece. Clarinet. The clarinet is a woodwind instrument with one reed only, and it can produce a wide range of low to high notes with versatile sound. Bassoon. It is the biggest and lowest pitch in the woodwind family. It can produce a comic and unique sound. That is why musicians called it as the clown of the orchestra. Saxophone is a woodwind instrument made of brass and played with a single reed mouthpiece, and its sound is in the middle of woodwind and brass sections.
Woodwind
Here are
family.
the sounds of woodwind
Piccolo.
instruments.
Flute. Oboe. Clarinet. Bassoon.
Another section is the brass instruments. Brass instruments have cup-shaped mouthpiece. Tune is produced by blowing through the mouthpiece with a tightly stretched lips. Brass instruments include the trumpet, trombone, French horn, and tuba. Trumpet. It is the smallest instrument and has the highest pitch in the brass family. Trombone. It is the only instrument with a sliding mechanism that shifts pitch in any key, and its pitch is a little lower than the trumpet. French horn. It is a spiral-shaped instrument with a large bell at its end. It produces mellow sound and played by blowing air into its funnel-shaped mouthpiece. Tuba. It is the biggest and has the lowest pitch in the brass family. Sound is produced by vibrating lips into its cup-shaped mouthpiece. And now, class, let us hear the sounds of the brass instruments. And now, the last section is the percussion family or percussion instruments. The percussion instruments are essential in terms of adding color to a musical composition. These instruments produce a variety of sounds that give special effects in a composition. Some percussion instruments are played by shaking, striking, tapping, or beating. Some of the percussion instruments includes snare drum, timpani, bass drum, cymbals, and marimba. Snare drum. It provides a rattling sound in a composition because of the metal wires attached diagonally at its bottom head. Timpani is a single drum head that has definite pitch. It is often called a kettle drum because of its shape. Bass drum is the biggest and has the lowest pitch in the percussion family. Its low and deep sound is produced by striking its head a stick or mallet. Cymbals are pairs of round plate-like instruments clashed together or played by striking them with a beater. Marimba are percussion instruments consisting of a set of wooden bars struck with yarn or rubber mallet to produce musical tones. Resonators or pipes are suspended underneath the bars to amplify their sound. Let's hear the sounds of percussion instruments. Okay, class, let us see if you listen very well to our lesson. You may now do the activity. Read and answer. Activity 1. Direction. Identify the following orchestra instruments. Write S if it is string, W for woodwind, B for brass, and P for percussion. I will give you 30 seconds to answer. Time is up. Class, let us check if your answers are correct. Number 1, marimba. If your answer is P, you are correct. Number 2, viola. If your answer is S, very good. Number 3, clarinet. If your answer is W, very good. Number 4, timpani. If your answer is P, excellent. Number 5, saxophone. If your answer is W, you are correct. Number 6, cello. If your answer is S, you are correct. Number 7, tuba. If your answer is B, very good. Number 8, oboe. If your answer is W, you are correct. Number 9, cymbals. If your answer is P, you are correct. Number 10, trombone. If your answer is B, you are correct. I hope you can get all the correct answers. Class, again, answer this activity. Activity number 2. Direction. Identify the following musical instruments. I will give you 30 seconds to answer this activity. Time is up. Okay, class. Let us check if your answers are correct. Number 1. If your answer is timpani, you are correct. Number 2. Very good. This is a French horn. Number 3. Excellent. This is an oboe. Number 4. Very good. This is a double bass. And number 5. All right. This is a clarinet. Class, always keep in mind the following term in order for you to fully understand our lessons. Orchestra refers to the group of musicians playing different kinds of instruments. The typical sections of the orchestra is divided into 4 groups or families of instruments. Number 1, the string. Number 2, the woodwind. Number 3, the brass. And number 4, the percussion. String instruments are instruments usually played by strumming, plucking, or bowing the strings. String instruments include the violin, viola, cello, double bass, and harp. Woodwind instruments. These instruments are played by blowing air through the reed of the mouthpiece. Tunes are produced by covering the finger holes. Some of them are piccolo, flute, oboe, clarinet, bassoon, and saxophone. Brass instruments are made of metal, brass, or silver alloys. Sounds are produced by blowing air into the mouthpiece. The trumpet, tuba, French horn, and trombone are some of the brass instruments in the orchestra. Percussion instruments. These instruments produce a variety of sounds that give special effects in a composition. Some percussion instruments are played by shaking, striking, tapping, or beating. The snare drum, bass drum, cymbals, timpani, and marimba are some of the percussion instruments in the orchestra. Because you understand our lesson, I'm very sure that you can easily answer this activity. Directions. Unscramble the jumbled word to form the correct musical instruments on column A. And in column B, write string, woodwind, brass, or percussion on the blank. I will give you 30 seconds to answer. Class, are you ready? Your timer starts now. Time is up. Okay, class, let us see if your answers are correct. If your answer in number 1 is trumpet and brass, very good. Number 2, if your answer is cymbals and percussion, you are correct. Number 3, if your answer is French horn and brass, excellent. Number 4, if your answer is clarinet and woodwind, you are correct. Number 5, if your answer is snare drum and percussion, very good. Number 6, if your answer is marimba and percussion, excellent. 7, if your answer is viola and string, very good. Number 8, if your answer is harp and string, excellent. Number 9, if your answer is saxophone and woodwind, very good. Number 10, if your answer is trombone and brass, very good. I hope you can get all the correct answers. Class, for your assignment, write your reflection on the things you have learned about Western orchestra instruments. I hope you learned something new today. See you next time. Stay safe and God bless you all. Goodbye, children.